All right, we're live. I know some people like to tune in a little bit earlier, so I'm going to open it up for those people. If you're not aware, tonight is time for free expression around psychedelics and the use thereof. Maybe some people be able to share their experiences, and through sharing those experiences, we can all connect to the one true psychedelic experience of being in connection with each other, of being connected to the oneness. So I'm just making sure that my headphones are synced. Who have just joined, and yes, welcome people, welcome. So I see we're joined by Brandon and Penny. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Anybody else who's tuning in on the other platforms, on Instagram, on Facebook? This is a candid, expressive talk about plant medicines, psychedelics, and what they can do for us, what they can allow us to experience, achieve. And I'm starting in about 6 minutes, but for those of you who are tuned in now, I feel like one of the clearest ways for me to express psychedelia is through free improvisation, through channeling, through just saying what comes first. So for those of you who turned up early, thank you. This is for you. And for those of you who are tuning in later, this is just a stream of consciousness so I can speak clearly about what psychedelics mean for me. So cleansing the energy, seeing the reflections in every entity, finding the sentience and the sentimentality in shifting reality, the ability to transcend, to move out of your body, to move to other galaxies. Psychedelics for me have been a long journey, and not every second has been fun. See, there's times where it went real dark, but I'm grateful for every single one of these journeys that showed me that I'm connected to the one, and there's only one form of consciousness channeling the energy of the golden sun. The light that we shine inside can provide a reminder that there's a reason we're all alive. And psychedelics, give thanks, have shown me that I have no need for my ego and pride. And like Bill Hicks said after he took the shrooms, well, it's just a ride. I'm grateful for the shamanic practices that have shown me who I am, the ability to align and realign and change the hands and sands of time as it ticks, and I reconnect to something different to what I ever thought exists. See, opening and widening perspective allows me to tune into the energy of the collective. And some of the sounds that have channeled through me in times of psychedelia have been insane. They could fill an encyclopedia, but not one of words, one of sound, Akashic record. See, it's time for us to step forward and no longer feel awkward in saying that psychedelics have changed us. We're in the process of moving from being cavemen into spacemen, and cave women, space women too. Awakening the divine that already exists in you. It's my intention to pay homage to the plants that have taught me and give thanks for every single lesson and blessing they've brought me. For the times I was down and out, for the times I was spinning through the cosmos, for the times I got lost. Yeah, there's times I was lost, but we always find ourselves again, finding the balance, the mix, the blend, remembering there's no start no beginning, no end. No enemy, no other, no friend. So all the psychedelia that lives within me is allowing me to speak freely and allow you to see my inner reality, naked before the universe, studying in this university. There are no more masks that I can wear or clothes I can adorn to let go of the ability to transform. See, I wouldn't want to let go of that anyway. I just like to play and channel in, unraveling, finding ways to fly straight through the sky and land like a javelin. And if you're tuning in right now on the Zoom or on a platform, I would like you to contribute to how this discussion can transform, whether it's typing in the comments saying, yo, can you speak about this, or questions about psychedelics. I want to blow through the mists and the fogs and the things that aren't clear so you guys can see what I've learned through many days, many months, many years. I've encountered many fears, shed many tears. I've said goodbye to so many peers only to see in psychedelia they reappear. Those who've transitioned, those who've lost, those who have gone, still finding them through the rituals and the songs. So while you type what you'd like me to speak about in my psychedelic route, I would like to channel in the psychedelic frequencies of the voice and just see what comes out. Open channel. Begin transmission. Breathe deeply, open your eyes and listen. Channeling, unraveling. Wishes granted, like Aladdin did. Psychedelia is more than just taking something to all your mind. It's about tuning into the rhythm that's inside, allowing your voice to channel freely with no ego on the fry. Mind, no pride, just enjoying this ride. See, I don't know if you've ever had a psychedelic experience. Hi, Sparky. Let me know if you want to share, if you've got something serious. I see my brother Blaze, who I'll speak with in a moment. I'm glad that we now have the channel open. I'm not going to speak in verse for the whole time, but psychedelics make it so easy to speak in a rhyme when you're interconnected to all the dimensions, and everything that gets a mention can put something away for a rainy day. And I'm not talking about a pension, and I'll probably never see one of those. So I breathe, and I speak in prose, I speak in rhyme, unlocking in these interesting times where the only thing we can do is open to ourselves and realign, allowing the spirals above my mind to unwind, the dreads to the channels and the antennas to the divine. So got them free. Make sure that they're alive. Put the headphones back on so I can see who is inside. I'm so grateful for the times I've died, not just in this lifetime, but also in the psychedelic ride. I mean, when I open that gateway and channel that portal, because to die, you really realize your awareness is immortal and there's no combat. So I am sharpening my elbows and my knees, my weapons, my ong back, not to fight, no flight, just insight, pure delight, channeling the psychedelic wave so we can see the energy it provides. See, once or twice, I've lost my mind. But it's in those times I've truly find what I've been looking for this whole time, realizing it's inside. See, my journey started actually on some class A's like MDMA, and I had some LSD. But before that, Actually, it was Amsterdam and truffles back in the day. See, even before I tried with the chemicals, I was in tune with the elementals. And I remember being in Amsterdam and seeing this fabric of a matrix. And in this matrix, I saw so many different faces. The trees had auras. I mean, the trees had auras. So now I'm truly speaking and pushing this agenda forward of widening your mind, aligning with the mind, shining, and you'll find. You want more shine than all the diamonds in every single mine. So, what could I say and what could I speak? I'm waiting to see if anyone else will join me, but right now I see the people who've joined in, and that's perfect. So, speaking truly and speaking openly, vulnerably. Man, psychedelics are an amplifier for the emotions. See within thyself. See the reasons for the drops, for the shadows, for the pains, for the anger, for the strops. And if we could ever be this dream that's in between you and me, this infinity, then surely psychedelics are a part of that dream. But you can have a psychedelic experience through breath, or you can have a psychedelic experience through near death. You could go through a tunnel, drop through a funnel. But it all comes back with the same message at the end. It's just I love you. It's just I am you. It's just I and I. No big brother when I speak about an eye in the sky. Truly recognizing how the Rastafari say I and 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 I. So I could free flow for a while. It could go on like this. But I realize that there are other people with perspectives that exist, and while I'm doing what I'm doing, tuning into what I am moving through, then I let people know that we're eternal students and there's a university that I've attended. Well, the course never opened, never started, never ended, never ending. Mixing, blending with everything that's contending for your attention. Recently, I had 5-MeO-DMT. That's the toad. If you don't know the letters and the numbers, you will see. And I'm grateful for the times that I've melted into non-duality and shifted reality, where I've moved through different galaxies and found that reality is something quite malleable, B. And time, well, it can be confusion because it's very, very real, but it's also an illusion. And we're in tune live, speaking about the psychedelic light. If you seek, you will find. I want to remind you that it's you've been looking for the whole time. No matter how they divide or isolate, you will find that you're connected to all things in all timelines. A couple more people joining in the room. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to join the Zoom, then you can do it too. But first, I'd like to speak freely, without rhyme and reason, no poem, just channeling spirit with no need for a Ouija, no need for a tool. On this tarot card deck, I've constantly been a fool, but then find the magician, change the position. Psychedelics have opened my intuition, my divine masculine and my divine feminism. So, if you're ready to be the rainbow that moves through the prism instead of being the being that is being in prison, then listen. See, I'm not a doctor, I could never give a prescription, but if you might want to pick up some shrooms delivered in a chocolate form, then maybe we can message. Maybe I can find a way to send you a little bit. But obviously not in an incriminating way, just finding a way to display that if you wish, you'll find a way. Just meditate and pray. So that was just free flowing, and actually freestyle is psychedelics for me. Freestyle is the psychedelic experience. I wanted to shout out the people in the Zoom right now. It's lovely to see you. Amethyst, Blaze, Brandon, Daniela, Penny, and at any point there's going to be an open discussion so we can talk about our psychedelic experience or lack thereof, questions and answers. I already see one question in here that Penny sent me. I always big up Penny. because she supports me in everything, turns up to everything, and also bigging up Blaze and Daniela, who were with me on Sunday. Brandon, were you there on Sunday for the elevator? Ah, okay, cool. Well, it's next Sunday as well. But I'm not going to talk too much about me, apart from in a psychedelic experience context and storytelling. Penny has asked me a question. She'd like me to talk about the way mushrooms bring things up. She's only done them 3 times and don't fully understand how to process afterwards. This is powerful. I'm going to speak on this, and I think Blaze might have something to give to this as well. Still open. If you're in the Zoom, put in the chat if you would like to share, and we can all come in and unmute and share this, because this is a radio show. So you've brought up instantly. All right, you know what? I'm going to bring you in now and pin you to the chat here. Yeah, I'm going to speak first on this, and then, brother, if you'd like to speak on this too. Wait, add pin. That's it. Add pin, not replace pin. There we go. Cool. So, Blaze, before I answer this question, would you like to come on and introduce yourself, speak about your experience, why you're involved in this chat, and how we know each other, what we're doing, what you're working for in the world, and anything else you want to share about yourself, where people can find you, etc., etc.
What's up? So, first and foremost, honored to be on. Super powerful, super blessed, and super grateful to be a part of this, because it's something that I feel is very, very potent. A little bit of background on myself. I am first. I'm a lyricist, beat maker, and a channel for rhyme and reason. So I really resonate with what Marv is doing, his message, his authenticity, and how he's bringing his voice and offering. So it's great to be able to support that. My journey through healing or into a spiritual realm, I always felt like there was something missing, or there was something that I was seeking, where I'd walk into a church or into a spiritual context, and there was something like I could feel there was resonance, but the framework in which it was delivered didn't quite. There was something that I almost felt like I was broken. I felt like there was something I was missing from that entire experience. And through journeying through different varied array of plant medicine, as simple as cacao or Santa Maria, or down to mushrooms and beyond, there has been a sense of coming back to feeling back at home, and feeling like there is a sense of like we were originally as cells. We first started off as a single cell organism, and the reason that we inhabit this flesh suit is through collaboration and through expansion. So through the lens of my perception and experience of psychedelics, it's been one of those where it allows you to strip back all of this illusion, thisness, and to be truly present with what arrives. Granted, there are highs, there are lows, there are in-betweens, but that's the difference between like going out and getting absolutely out of your face on all sorts of experimental recreational pharmaceuticals, and then being in a space where you connect to a plant medicine for an intention. Intention is everything. The same way you could like make food when you can't be asked, you're like whipping things together, but then you come and you bring like putting love into food, it will continue to nourish. So it's a similar with psychedelics. You arrive with whatever you're there with, and you have an intention, and you call in that intention, create a space for it, you will get what you require. The work, 90% of the work is arriving and going through the particular process with a held shaman, space holder, but the other 10% comes to the integration. Through shadow integration in itself, like looking at all of these good, bad, ugly, and different parts of oneself, myself, and being like, it's all part of the same. This is a me, and I'm still trying to figure out what this me is, but I'm willing to look at it with compassion, with a sense of dispelling duality of right, wrong, good, bad, looking at it its entirety and moving through said process. And through diving into meditation, breath work, and then exploring sacred space, it has enabled me to integrate a lot of my shadow, and through that I as well will put through into my music, like the parts between, like, I have a past. There's things that I've done before being into a healing space, but they say there is no saint without a past, or no sinner without a future. And I'm somewhere in the middle of acknowledging both of them and just being like, this is the realness. Tell them again. There is no saint without a past, or no sinner without a future. And I just like to honor that particular growth. And yeah, I feel like if something, as you so rightly put in the medicine, which the people then will hear, like, how can something be that's natural be illegal? Like, just as a pondering point for that, it's something that grows for us at times of the year, particular wheels of the year. Like, how is that? Why is that illegal? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But then it's the same thing, bro. It's the same thing of, like, even within the pharmaceutical industry, you may be going down a little bit of a curveball, but fuck it, I'm gonna take it there. Like, nature cannot be patented. But it's, say for example, even like paracetamol, the root for paracetamol is willow bark. One of the roots is willow bark. So even for that, even looking into studies of anxiety and all sorts, things like mushrooms and psychedelics, trials are being used for PTSD, and people can go through a process in a held space and shift through years, lifetimes worth of trauma in a single sitting. How is that, like, for myself, like, how is that a bad thing? Like, granted, there's going to be messaging that is said, oh, you know, that's psychedelics are bad, this, that, and the other, you can have a bad trip. Well, there is, in essence, people can have a bad trip, but that's the whole premise of a space holder, of them assisting through a shadow, through going through a process and working through a process. And someone's trying to ring me unnecessarily, and they need to stop.
Yeah, I see, man. At that point, then I'm just going to bring this back into the original question. I want to go deeper in what you said about law, about divinity, about nature, because this is really powerful stuff you're going into. So I'm just going to recap on Penny's question, which is all about integration, like how the way mushroom brings things up that you don't fully understand how to process afterwards. First of all, there are many irresponsible people who promote plant medicines and psychedelics as though they are the magic pill, as though they are the thing that are going to resolve what's inside you. It's never that. It's always your breath. It's always your integration. Body work can be a great way to move, either receiving body work from a professional, or movement. Screaming at the top of your lungs at a full moon is one of the most cathartic things that I've ever done for, like, processing anger. And talking about, understand how to process afterwards. So I'm just going to bring up one example. Now, I've done psychedelics hundreds of times, sometimes as a recipient, sometimes as a space holder, and sometimes as nothing and everything at the same time. And in this particular instance, I had a very difficult experience come up through some of my experiences in the rainforest, where a repressed memory of sexual abuse as a child came into my life, and I'd never really seen it before, but I saw the expressions of this pain like in my life. And that was a really difficult thing, because first of all, memory is subjective, right? So this could be something that definitely happened to me and came back in. It could be something that happened potentially in another lifetime. It could be something that was a shared human experience that I was able to experience with someone else. It could be a number of different things, but ultimately, it was information that was really heavy for me. And at first, there was the victim, suddenly going from 0 to 100 in terms of victim mentality in like one moment, or the moment, or several thousand moments, depending on which perspective. These things that come up are, it's almost like life is the greatest psychedelic. So you find things that trigger you. You find things that bring you to potentially your limits, or really challenge you. And it can be very, very simple to point the finger and say, this because of this person, this because of that person, this system, that thing. Ultimately, psychedelics don't allow you to do that. Like, you realize it's all about you. It's all about you. R.I.P. or Rise in Power, the immortal Tupac
One of my
Shakur.
favorite
So
songs.
essentially, that guy, we'll talk about that guy at some point. Yeah, so essentially, when you realize it's all about you and it's not from an ego perspective, like, yeah, everything's me, but it's actually like from a space where you're going, oh, everything that I see in the world, everything that I experience in the world, everything that comes up for me is about me. It creates a real deep personal responsibility that is unavoidable, and really quite heavy, right? And if you've been through, look, I don't know what everyone's beliefs are, so I'm going to only speak from my own experience, my own perspective. But if you've been through countless karmic cycles of pain, suffering, life, death, being the victim, being the perpetrator, all these stories, etc., then you might have a really heavy load that seems unfair in this life. And there might be something really heavy that comes up in psychedelic journeys or interpersonal therapy, meditation, whatever it is that allows you to see those things. And essentially, once you have the power, you have the responsibility. You can't now look away. You can't go, oh, blue pill, please. I chose the wrong one. You have to actually commit to it. And for me personally, personal practice, voice has been everything for me to actually integrate my experiences as I'm using now, as I was using when I was channeling earlier. So getting into some sort of practice where you can view your emotions from a different perspective. And that's what psychedelics introduce, but they don't continue that in waking life. That's what integration is. So let's say, for example, you have a message like, I need to go do this. Now, first of all, psychedelics are timeless. So it might not say by this particular time, or it might. But you might feel really, I need to do this. No, take your time. Map it out. Be patient. You've got the whole of your life to integrate your lessons. And also having support. So for those of you who know or don't know, I offer sound healing, spiritual coaching, various different things that allow you to go through these experiences and work on a subconscious block. The problem we have a lot of time with integrating psychedelics is that we are coming from the conscious ego projection mind, when the subconscious triggers are really what's coming to the surface. So we have to find a practice of going beyond our ego and our id and going to the transpersonal, the I am of it, and going to the subconscious and working with these messages. So that's just a little bit on integration and the struggles that some people have in understanding what comes up. And it can be extremely painful, it can be extremely joyful. The point is, I think a lot of these experiences in life in itself as the greatest psychedelic are teaching us to ride the waves and allow these things to take us up, to take us down, to take us round and round and round and spiral in and out. But yeah, I see you have a point there. I was just coming to the end of what I want to say. Take the floor, brother. Also, just before you share, I just want to remind everyone, if you want to speak on camera and you're in the Zoom, do let me know by typing in the comments if you'd like to join us. And equally, if you would like to just ask a question about psychedelia, just write it in the comments, and either Blaze, myself, or whoever is on the screen at the time will do our best to speak honestly about these things.
Bless up, bro. I was just gonna to accentuate on what you were saying about like the integration part. Like part of the physical thing that brings me joy as part of my purpose, as opposed to the creative side, is structural integration, body work, and recognizing that the brain, like the body is what keeps the score. The body is what stores trauma. So moving through, as you're saying, through practice, through voice, through vibration, there is such a powerful nature of becoming back into the body. So even after you've had such a powerful experience, whether it be breath, be meditation, to find that nature of grounding, like human nature, even in those two words, human nature, there is no separation. So when we continue to go back into nature after a profound psychedelic experience, that's where the further healing comes. The overwhelming part initially is the integration into literally like, okay, you're going through a deep process, and then the next day you're having to go back into work, like BC before Corona, where you're like a lot of people are in an office. I'm repatterning that, bro, repatterning that. And like it would be a lot. It would be a lot. And I remember after one experience that I had with a particular plant medicine, I like I'd went, and this was with Cambo. Cambo is regularly available within the UK. I remember I went from a healing space of purging a lot, and I went to go do a hen party, like doing private high mixology and being around that energy of alcohol and like crazy hens. It was great, but also it was like, ooh, it was such a different energy because I could feel the heaviness, even the nature of the word, like from being in a place of spirit, then being in a place around doing work with spirits, like vodka, gin, they're all spirits. Like they will alter one's consciousness, but it's overlooked as a casual thing of like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna have some spirits. Like granted, like there is time and space, and there was also medicine in alcohol. But there's that fine balance from the lens of my perspective between medicine and poison. And this is where us as human beings are constantly finding that line between medicine and poison. Even if you look at it, the same cold steel that heals can be deadly. Scalpels, same tool, different application. So it's how, with the tools that we have, that we can embody what we've learned. Like it's all well and good having a download, but when you download, you still have to process, and then from there you upload everything else. So it's a constant battle of finding, not battle, balancing point, tipping point.
A dance.
It is a dance between having that ability to integrate and having people that you can conversate with, and a space that you can vulnerably share and know it's met. That can really help, because I know some people or through the lens of the people that I have in my life, for example, if we talk about psychedelics, oh, psychedelics are bad, or cool, like I'm cool with that. But at the same time, if I'd ask the person, have you experienced it? No. Like, it's not to say you can't make a judgment left, right, or center. All I say for comments like that is do what feels right to you, the most authentic process. And when you feel like, oh, I don't know, should I go and like do mushrooms, or being pressured into doing mushrooms and being called into a space where you're like, it's time, it's ready, I'm ready. There's a whole different experience. If you're already fighting it and have resistance before you've already got in, then how are you going to get the medicine out of it? It's like even as a kid, when you're force-fed cowpole, granted cowpole tastes nice, but like for other,
it gets you wavy as well.
It's one of them ones that how you administer your medicine and how you can process it, therein is where the healing can occur from. So
yeah, man. So I'd just like to piggyback on that and then approach our first question. Please do send the rest of the questions in, because it's like the one that's been asked is like great, and I'm so excited to answer it. But yeah, we're speaking about why these things are illegal or seen as wrong or bad. Well, a lot of that is due to the sort of Abrahamic faiths, so to speak. You know, this painting of a Garden of Eden and us eating from the tree of the gods, or receiving the knowledge of the gods, and that being a bad thing or a negative thing. We'll speak about this as paganism, for example. Like even in the streets, pagan is a bad word, right? Nature worshipper is a bad word in the streets, which is really funny to me. But a lot of these things have come up as a sort of, I don't know, a metaphor in life, but also a way for us to see that something is seen as wrong. You know, our law isn't here to protect and serve us anymore. It's really been here to manipulate our consciousness and have us toe the line and behave different ways. You must pay taxes. You must toe the line. You must go to school. You must learn our agenda, etc., etc. So a lot of that will never be allowed for us to really express. I don't say we'll never, actually. I'll take that back. Delete, cancel. At present, it's not allowed for us to really express the true multidimensional nature of who we are, because that's an uncontrollable being. That's not a being that's going to sit within your control structures. When you step outside of all of those trappings and all those projections, and you sit with the divine, which is what these entheogens, as I like to call them, these things that evoke God within, they allow you a lot of times to really like find a deeper perspective that will not allow you to be someone's tool or battery or source of power. So essentially, yeah, that's the way I see it, is that we are like often not given access to these things on the simple basis that it's too empowering. And yeah, I mean, I'm gonna approach this question now because it's like burning away at me. Very exciting. So Brandon's asked, can I ask if Blaze or yourself or anyone in the Zoom has taken DMT and thoughts on that medicine? So DMT comes in many forms. I'm going to be full disclosure here because for the most part, a lot of the journeys that I've done have been in countries or regions where those journeys have been legal, let's say. And I've been able to go to the Amazon. I've been able to go to some European countries that are more relaxed on these laws. Have I done DMT? So first we've got to break down what DMT is. Dimethyltryptamine is the spirit molecule. It's what's released in your brain when you sleep, when you're born, when you die. For me, it's actually a gateway and a portal between the duality and the infinite. And the infinite doesn't live or die, but you experience death in order to go into it. I have drunk ayahuasca, taken Wilca, which is a DMT snuff using seeds and calcium hydroxide or snail shells, also called Yopo by a lot of tribes who do it. I have done Changa. I have done freebase DMT. And recently, last year, I did 5-MeO DMT, or the toad. Ribbit. So I'm going to speak a little bit on my different experiences of that. And I'm not going to go too deep because I know, Blaze, you have some stuff to say on this. And if anybody else in the chat has anything to say on this, just make us aware, and we're happy to bring you into the chat. So, with the orally ingestible DMT, ayahuasca, which is DMT, and Harmala, that allows it to be experienced through the digestive system, allows you to have a 6 to 8 hour journey, 4 to 8 hour journey. That has... I've trained in the Amazon. I've worked in circles, so we're talking about, I've stopped counting at 80, but well over 130 times I've gone on these journeys. Sometimes nothing has happened. Sometimes I've just been sick. Sometimes I've just felt a queasiness in my stomach. Sometimes I've died and gone into the cosmos and been taught by cosmic elves how to sound heal with my voice. Sometimes I've been able to fly with the falcon. Sometimes I've just been in a sea of colors and vibrations and portals and what I call light codes that have been activated within my DNA, within my inner space. And ultimately that has been an ongoing relationship with the Divine Mother. And sometimes she's kicked my ass, sometimes she's rubbed my head, and sometimes she's washed my feet, sometimes she's just cleaned my stomach. So yeah, that's a deep one. And because you're having a relationship with a divine, feminine, ancient being, sometimes manifesting as a serpent or naga, you have a relationship with her, and everybody's experience and every experience that you have every time is going to be different. So moving on to DMT, freebase. I've had some beautiful experiences of crossing over and sitting within divine astral realms, geometry, like 5-dimensional vision, so to speak. So you're kind of like moving through various different aspects and portals of experience. Met entities that have, this is a bad word for those who have Abrahamic faith, in particular, those who fear the devil or the snake or the serpent, which has been an intentional removal of the shamanic ways of the planet. But meeting these entities that can speak in different tongues that channel so many different experiences. Integration is always a tough one, because you have to, when you die in it and you break through, you have to rebuild yourself step by step, block by block, and you also have the time for integration. Wilca, I want to tell one Wilca story, or Yopo story, with this DMT snuff. So my favorite time I did this. So first of all, you get this vibration, and then you go through this kind of like spiral that pops you out of your being. Then I'm kind of in an astral realm floating around, and I find myself in a marketplace, and I'm walking through this marketplace, and it looks like it looks real. This doesn't look like a strange interdimensional marketplace. I think it's adjusted for where my brain was at the time and what I knew at the time. I'm walking down this marketplace and seeing various crystals and things that feel like upgrades. Similar experience on Changa with a conveyor belt of upgrades, but this is walking through a marketplace. I'm seeing all these things, and eventually I see this really ancient looking, like East African looking market trader who essentially, this market trader, I feel a resonance with him, and I start looking at these objects that I feel are upgrades to me, and I put my hand over one of them, and I feel something powerful like come through me, and then I look at him and I go, wait, I'm not actually at a market, am I? And in that moment, he turns around and he goes, see you later. And as soon as I tried to understand it, I was chucked back down through all the layers of what I'd left behind in going through this marketplace, and essentially told, like, the problem was your stupid human brain trying to work it out. And it always is that. So, yes, Deep, welcome to the stream, brother. Feel free to ask any questions you have about psychedelics as well. So, yeah, in terms of, that was a very poignant experience. Now, I'm going to move straight on to, well, Changa, as I said, has always been a divine experience. Voice, sound, light, a kind of like interflowing spiral of different conveyor belts of energy and upgrades. And again, being able to meet beings. One time I met my twin. I was a vanishing twin syndrome sufferer, which means that there were two of us in the womb. Only one of us came out. The other one disappeared through a deep hemorrhage. But I met him and realized that all my near-death experiences, he's been on the side helping me to not die, which is pretty cool. And that sacrifice was deep. Now we're going to move on to 5-MeO-DMT. I just need to take a moment. So I'm sure anyone who's aware of philosophy and various speakers understands that there's this concept of duality and non-duality. What 5-MeO-DMT is for me is my one experience having it is a catapult into non-duality. Not a river, not like a tree growing branches, but into it. And even the process of inhaling it to the fullest, you have to really have control of your lungs. And that's something, as a beatboxer, sound healer, I do focus on a lot. I'm breathing in. I keep breathing. I've done some Wim Hof and some breath work before, and I keep breathing in until the sitar takes away the pipe. And there's these sounds like all coming on top of each other, and this wave of psychedelia that then stops, and you just sit with your whole ego and personality deleted in the eye of the oneness. I've never experienced it this deeply in anything other than 5-MeO-DMT. But so what I was told after it by the trip sitter was like my lips had gone blue. I believe I was holding my breath for about 4 or 5 minutes, which I don't do in normal waking life. And after being in that divine realm, which we cannot explain, there's so many of these experiences you can't put into words when you actually get there. That returning back to myself, I had a knee injury at the time, and the first thing I was aware of was my thumb. My thumb's going right into the knee injury, and from limping around that same day, I was walking like with no consideration for a limp, without pain. It did come back a little bit later to a lesser degree, but that non-duality, it takes many decades of deep meditation to, or it could take a month if you've just tuned in like that, but it could take a lot of deep meditation to reach that same form. And I have had it in some long meditations, especially when I did Vipassana. There were some points at which I reached it. But to be catapulted there, if you're familiar with the concept of surrender, it's a divine spaceship. It is for me the one for the oneness, the thing that allowed me to understand why I'm in duality and why I've chosen to be in a form of separation in order to really value that unity that came from. I'm gonna leave it there for a second, boil the kettle and give myself some tea, ground myself, come back to earth, because these experiences are really they captured in the voice for a vocalist. I don't know if you feel the same, Blaze, but they're captured in the voice. So even speaking about it, I'm kind of like right now. So I'm gonna have some tea, ground, and I'm gonna ask Blaze to speak on if he's. First of all, have you had any experience? Yeah. Okay. So
Toad,
to speak
yeah.
on these and share with the people.
Yeah, it feels pertinent to share on the toad medicine, again held in a sacred space with the wisdom keepers of that medicine. And as Marv said about this nature of surrender, like, wow. And there is, to use that term as, like, for clarification on that term, surrender, is being, from my perspective, open enough to be held in completeness. Know that this earth, this experience can fully hold you. And for myself, initially after doing the breath work and being present with the medicine, there was a point where there was like, almost felt like I saw a combination of like centipedes and sort of snakes that were woven into what looked like green matrix, like outlines of humanoid form. And I remember the medicine songs being sung, and there was a point where in the session there's a particular part of the song where the shaman went, I don't know what else happened after that. Like, I went into this space of what I can only call unbound devotion, a sense of pure love and trust and embracing of the absolute, that catapult, like, from, it almost felt like, you know, like how whenever you guys, like, you walk downstairs and you kind of like, you're always expecting to feel the next step down, and then when you don't hit the next step, it's like, oh, it makes you jolt. Now that, but that just didn't stop. It was just into the center of the universe is the best way I can describe it. What came up for me is this nature of sacred sexuality, about creation, which I know sacred sexuality is something that Marv's going to speak on, if memory serves me, next week as well, same time, same place. And there was a point where I was told afterwards that I was moving around the room like a lizard. Basically, I was crawling around the room and I was moving into the lizard brain, where the medicine that I received for that is, Blaze, get back into your body, like literally just be in your body and be present, move in your body. And there was a moment where I went to what I could only see was the center of the universe after a period of being in this sacred womb of just darkness, warmth, and timelessness, where this ego is non-existent. There was absolutely nothing, just fractals. And went to the center of the universe, and it was like seeing this light, and it expanded, and then it unfolded, and I saw the infinite amount of lives coming from this, and it was just rippling out, living everyone's life. Even though there's 7 human beings on this conversation now, there's only one of us, and that was really, really potent. And getting to a point afterwards, seeing Tibet and having I had a moment seeing sort of the Dalai Lama, and about the whole nature of the cosmic joke of, like, be happy. Like, we there is the universe experiencing itself this whole time, where we're constantly feeding back, and everything's all right. So, like, be happy. And I tried to explain that. I got out of this journey, which in the room, people must have thought I was a little bit loopy, because I got up and I was like, no way. I started laughing. I was actually bellowing, because I felt like everyone was in on this cosmic joke that we are non-separate, we're only one being. I felt like everyone knew that. And and it blew my absolute mind, where I tried to recite a song that I'd written before, but the simplest form of it was zoning in the astral, vivid colors pastel, I'm feeling like a rascal, it adds up like Blaise Pascal. So all the mathematics, all the process just sunk in, and it was incredible. And I heard, what I only found out afterwards, there was a sound that was rippling, which I realized was my sound of creation. And Marv, I'm reaching out for you, we can have a conversation about this afterwards, about how I can generate the sound that I heard through my body and through my voice, for my sound of creation. So yeah, that's a little insight to my experience. I see that Brandon and Penny would like to share their experience, and also I just want to honor Daniela as well, because she would like to know about setting up a space recommendation, which would probably, after we've shared our experience, probably be a nice way to round off the conversation moving forward. So yeah,
Glad you saw that. I missed that one. Thank you, brother.
of course, bro, of course.
This is why teamwork makes the dream work. Just a
me.
little thing. You spoke about making the sounds that you hear. So right now, I'd like to make the sound of when my ego identity starts to transcend to the interdimensional realm of I and I. So these are the kind of frequencies that are coming through. And the reason that's so easy for me to do is because I actually pledged, excuse me, I pledged my voice to the beings that I met in the divine realm to do the healing work that basically I see them as us in where we're going to now. Like that, so we think about time and aliens visiting us, blah, 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 blah. We actually talk about this is a timeless, spaceless dimension of meeting self on a very non-personal setting. Like they're transforming and shifting the whole time. So yeah, and Brandon, just a question: were you wanting to share your journey with DMT? So we'll do that now, just because it's in topic, and then we'll go into setting space.
Mindful that Penny has to go at 7:50. So Brandon, if you're open to it, can we let Penny share and then go in? Nice one, brother.
Good shout. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm gutted that I've got to go, actually. But yeah, I just wanted to share my thank you, Brandon, and Blaze, and everyone. Yeah, I wanted to share. The last mushroom experience I had was I didn't realize I was out of it for about 3.5 hours, kicking and screaming on my sofa, "You fucking cunt," really, really loudly, with somebody that was facilitating, and it was so loud, and it was screaming and screaming and screaming and screaming that the person with me was worried about my neighbors. And I was thumping walls, I was kicking. And I didn't have any memory of it. And this was happening for like 3 hours. And the images that I saw afterwards were terrifying. And I don't want to give you the visuals, but because I've just realized what the time is, but I haven't been able to properly process the enormity of what I felt inside, what came up for me, the pain and the realizations and the revelations that came up for me. And I realized that my brain afterwards has been really susceptible, like really very, very vulnerable to energy that's around me. And I don't really know how to shut that or to protect myself. And this was 5 months ago, but I still feels very placid. My brain feels I've been open, something deep sensitivity in me has been opened, but I haven't been able to deal with it very well afterwards. So I just wondered about that.
Yeah, I'd like to respond to that. So essentially, the thing about psychedelics is they show us the work. So in terms of A simple exercise that I can do just to be proactive, because I know you've got 3 minutes before you have to leave, and something I can do to be proactive and share with anybody who wants to create a protective barrier to anything that is not serving them. There are a couple of ways. The first is to come to your solar plexus, and I would recommend doing regular chakra work so you've got a good relationship with it. And you start to open an eye, like you close your eyes and you open an eye from your belly, and that belly eye starts to see the energies that are not for you. And it's a really powerful, it's a central sun, so it can transform and shift anything that's coming through you, move it out and shift it into another degree. Now this is a really strong practice that you can do without psychedelics, and I encourage doing it when you're not in the situation so you can feel it. That's one of the things. The other thing is to breathe and meditate deeply, and to envision every breath that you take, a golden light enter in, and let that golden light move through the entire of your being, till it's from head to toe, or if you're sitting down to the perineum is a better example, and allow that golden light to then create dual arcs of electromagnetic protection around you, and at the same time you can evoke and speak about you can basically call the intention in to open this semi-permeable membrane that lets you let go of anything that's not for you and call in what is for you. The more difficult response that I'd like to give is that your spirit is showing you how much empowerment you need in order to work with and choose the energies around you, and to work through, like I've worked with Penny, so I know a few of the things that you've dealt with. You share with me, obviously in confidence, and a lot of those things are very intense. It means that it's time to like not put yourself in victim consciousness, or like a point of these things happening to you, but these things happening through you and for you to grow and resonate. And like I said before, the things that trigger, some people would go, right, I'm going to go into that situation that triggers me. I'm going to do ayahuasca, and then I'm going to go straight to the club and see all the druggies and da-da-da-da-da. No, some people are like that, but I would suggest being gentle and removing yourself from those situations until you can, at a distance, walk in and they don't actually hold you to that high level. Yeah. So.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the space to share, guys, and I really appreciate it. I'm so sorry I've got to go. But yeah, anyway, I'll send you love and thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for joining again, Penny. Thanks for sharing.
Bye-bye.
Beautiful. See you later. So, Brandon, I believe you wanted to share your experience, so you're up next. Welcome to the chat, and thank you for being open here. And blessings deep. We'll see you later.
Blessings, everyone. Can I be heard? Am I being heard? I don't know.
Yes, clearly.
Okay. Yes. Hi. Hello. Thanks for having me. This is my first Zoom. I actually downloaded this Zoom today to join in this chat from my friend Ami. She told me about this, and I was like, I'd like to hear everyone's story, and I've decided to share my first psychedelic experience. And my first, what would I say? Because I've smoked weed before, but I wouldn't call that extreme psychedelic, you know. So my first psychedelic experience was DMT. Like I haven't taken mushrooms, I haven't done any of those stuff yet. But my first psychedelic experience was DMT, and that was with my friend. And he came in through my window with a light bulb, a homemade bong, and it was a bottle cap straw. And I trusted him. I didn't know what it was. He told me what it was. We were on a spiritual journey together, and he told me, I'm going to light this up. I need you to listen. I need you to follow my words. I'm going to guide you. He was my shaman on that night. And then he lit the light bulb up, and there was a mist in the light bulb. I took my first 4 pulls, but apparently I messed it up because it's really hard in your lungs. It is. It's really, the DMT, the smoke is like, it was really hard in your lungs, and I wasn't prepared for it. So we gave it a break for like 5 minutes, and then we said, let's try again. I took 5 more pulls, and on the 5th pull, I was resting in my bed, and my room started to break down, and the colors started to fade and disappear, and I felt there was this noise, It was like zing, and it got high to the highest pitch you can ever imagine. It was like, and I felt like this electrical scan come from the bottom of my toes all the way up, scanning my body. And I looked at my friend, and he had 4 faces, all of them with different expressions. And then I was thinking, holy shit, what's going on? Like, what's happened there? And I felt the sensation of dying. And I looked at him and I was like, you betrayed me. How could you do this to me? And he was like, no, it's not betrayal. It's your ego, you're shedding your ego. And I was like, so this is okay then? And he was like, yes. And he put this blanket over my eye. And this woman came down from this light. She had a purple face, 3 eyes, one in the middle of her head. She was like almost Hindu looking. And she was smiling. Her energy was like joyous, like love. It was just love. And she grabs me and pulls me through this crazy, like you've heard it before, geometric shaped panel with lights flashing, everything. And she pulls me and I fly off the planet. I fly into the space. I fly through, I don't even know how many dimensions. And she brings me into the center of the universe. And I become one with everything. And it's like I'm this sphere, this round ball of everything. And I can see everything and I understand everything. And I was like, I get it now. I don't know what happened on Earth, but I understand how everything works. I understand bliss. Everything was just connected in like a circle of love. And as I was in this universal state, I started exploring, and it was like I experienced previous lives, but they were on different planets. And I was a cat person at first. And I remember I had a family, and then it skipped. Then I was like on this alien spaceship. Lyran, yes. And then I was on this spaceship, and these people, they looked human, but it was like a galactic battle. I don't know what's happening. And then my ship got destroyed. And then this woman, I was on a medical bed, and this woman was like, you need to stay awake, don't go. Like, you know, when they tell you about alien abductions and then you looking up and there's a bright light, that's what it felt like. And then that passed, and then I was on Earth, but I was in a tribe in Africa. And I saw a woman that looked familiar. I didn't know who it was because I've shedded all my ego, shedded all my memories of Brandon. I wasn't Brandon at this moment. I was just everything in one. And I was looking for something on Earth, and I was going through these life cycles. And I remember I saw this being. He was pure light, shifting, and it was weird. It was almost like a, and I was like, this thing is kind of scary, but wait, he's not here to harm me. That's me. And I was like, that's me. That's my soul. That's my soul talking to me. But he looked so alien, but I understood that it was my soul. And he was like speaking to me in a language like exactly, Marv, like you were doing, with all the
light
sound
language,
effects.
yeah?
Yes, light language. Yes. And he said, you reminded me, he's like, oh, you have to go back. I was like, back where? I was thinking, back where though? And he was like, I'll guide you. I was like, okay, I'm gonna take you back to your time period. You're just gonna have to remember who you was at that time. And at the time, I was searching the planet for an identity that I was supposed to be. And I was going in people's houses. I was looking for myself. And I was like, I remember now. I was born this year, 92. My name is Brandon. My experience is this. And I remember my whole life flashed before my eyes, and it all went black. And I was like in this womb of darkness. And I felt so at peace with everything. And then I opened my eyes and I was in the room, and I thought I left the earth for like 100,000 years. And I looked at my friend and I was like, I couldn't say a word. I wasn't even emotional. I felt one emotion. it was pure love. It was the pureness of love. I didn't feel any of like, what's the word for it? The duality of this matrix I we're in. I didn't feel any of the programming that I've had since I was born on this planet. I didn't take any genders in mind, didn't have any negative feelings towards anything. It was pure love. And I looked at him and I said, I know everything. I know everything, and everything's all right. You don't have to worry about things. And I said to him, but I can't translate it to you, I forgot it. And over time I remembered parts of what happened. And that was my experience in DMT. Thanks for listening. I know it was a long explanation, but
nah, man. Like, I'm just gonna ask the people in the Zoom if you're all right with us just running like 10 minutes late and closing at 9:10, because there's still some other questions. If you have to go, but I feel like we need to like keep this stuff going. Brother Brandon, that was incredible, man, and so much resonated with my own experiences, especially that part of like where you said you couldn't remember the dissolution of time, like the feeling like you've been there longer than in your human life, and trying to integrate that into a human moment is incredible. And for that to be your first experience of psychedelia, that's amazing. So yeah,
thank you.
Give thanks to the incredible storytelling as well. Like, just tell us a little bit about yourself, because you're on the stream. Like, are you a musician, a storyteller, a poet? I feel something coming through in a really clear communication.
I call myself a creative. I don't really latch to any sort of like. I like to create stories in my mind. I'm a very deep dreamer, so I like to create stories from my dreams. I have like 5 stories, but I haven't written anything down. I haven't put anything online yet. I'll need to get around to that. I like to make music. I have a few friends that make music. I like to make music with them. I do a lot of stuff in creativity because I'm a creative person. But yeah, I don't really have any career in it right now, but I would love to in the future. But yeah.
I'm sure Blaze will echo this. But you are a griot. You're like a storyteller. You're a sharer of experience, and that's an empowering thing. And like, feel free. I'm gonna put my email address in the chat for those of you who are not in the Zoom. It's info@marvradio.com. You have any other questions? You want to talk about psychedelics integration? Blah 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 blah. Let me know. Also, if you might want to figure out how to get some very special chocolates delivered to you, for example. Like this is an incredible thing, and I can see that spark in you, and that sharing of that experience is coming to my theatre, it's coming to my music, and there's many more things to solve. But you almost sound like you have the potential, but not necessarily. Like, don't feel this is all you need to be, but the potential to be a one-hitter quitter, to be someone who tries something once and gets all the messages and all of the realization in that one time. And you may find that every other experience you have is just a reminder of that place that you dwell in, outside of ego. I know I've spoken a lot. Blaze, if you want to respond to that, and then we're going to go back to some of the questions that are lined up here for us.
No, basically, just thank you very much for sharing in such a beautiful capacity. And like you're saying about, only thing I'd like to chime in on is you're saying about you've got your 5 stories, something that you'd like to make creativity something part and parcel of the future. Well, why can't we make this future right now? And if that's something that you genuinely want to open up the conversation for, like, contact Marv. His email's in there. You can find me on Instagram at IAM13EIMB, and let's have a chat, bro. Because like, being real, and this is from the heart. Why are you being selfish and not sharing your gold with other people?
It's true. It's true. I don't know. I've thought about ways to do it, and I've just been. Do you know what it is? I know this in myself. I'm just being lazy at the moment. That's the worst thing. Is
well done for owning that, bro. Well done for owning that. You've got time. There's space, and we both, Marv and I, and I'm sure all the people that have tuned in live and are here are willing to support you on your onward journey. So we'll extend a hand, and we can walk alongside you. Whether you walk or you run, we walk alongside you, bro.
Thank you for that.
Bless up.
Bless.
Also, I feel like it's so pertinent and prominent to come to the wonderful Daniela on her question because she's been wonderfully patient. Marv, do you want to start off on space music? Yeah, and we can go in from there. You're muted, bro.
Yeah, the power of multitasking. Yeah, so I'm going to read the whole question out just so we can get a little reminder or reminder, as the case may be. How do you set up the place for the trip? What kind of music can you recommend to set up? And can we be inside only or have access to an outdoor space? Essentially, it all depends on dosage. It all depends on what your experience is. You always need to set a safe setting for yourself. My personal recommendation, if you're working with like a low to medium trip of mushrooms, if the weather's good and you can be outside and be in nature, nature can steer you no wrong. It will not. Even if it's dark and there's woods and there's shadows, you'll find a way. Also, as you open up the container for taking the medicine, put your intention into it. Pray to whatever you feel is the nature of consciousness. For myself, I have a prayer which I'd like to share. I shared it also in the elevator yesterday. To the Almighty Creator, Mother and Father, to the earth above and below, to the elementals of earth, fire, water, air, and ether, to the ancestors, those who have passed that we remember, those who have passed that we do not remember, those who are passing and those yet to come into this mortal realm, to all benevolent beings within our earthly realm, to all benevolent beings in contact with our earthly realm, to the coasts and plains, cities, towns, and villages, to the hills and valleys, to the waterways of the planet, to the plant spirits, allies, and guides, to the earth from rock, mountains, and volcanoes, the mineral kingdom, and the crystal grid, to the fiery core at the center of the earth, to the air we breathe, the clouds and sky, sun, moon, planet, solar system, and galaxies, to the celestial beings that guide us from upon high, and to the one true Godhead. And then you put your intentions in. You might want to write it down and say, I ask for a safe, protected journey in which I receive everything that I need to experience. I ask that only benevolent beings or loving, joyful beings can be present in this journey. These are my intentions. You can also go deep enough to connect to the different directions, the medicine wheel, the north, the south, the east, the west, the internal, the external. But really, that is something that I always recommend to someone in whatever form, even if it's just like, sacred mushroom, thank you. Please look after me. Show me what I need to know. I surrender. I trust in this process. Thank you. Gratitude goes a long way. And then, in terms of setting, if you're indoors, now we go into the. I don't recommend anybody does a heroic dose unless they've done several normal doses beforehand. Although it might be really good for you, but I just don't recommend it. So if you're going to be indoors, the music that you choose is very important. So I like to personally choose some etheric stuff, but also some stuff that brings up the darkness. So there's a global trap fusion medicine playlist that I listen to where some of it is like, and then the other bit will be like, and it just brings all the different like elements that you want to bring. So think about what you can also use words as well. You can use like songs, like for example, if there's someone you're deeply connected to, just the two of us could be divine for you in that moment. I like to listen to African ancestral music. I did that for there's a Spotify playlist called African Spirit, which I did on my last solo mushroom trip. And if you're going into deep space, which is the heroic dose, which I recommend a lot of experience and advice before doing, you really just want darkness and nothing going on, because everything will be going on. In nature, I always recommend that you have a phone turned off, but that has access to you finding directions and finding your way if you need, or a call if you're like in difficult times. And I recently was able to go into a flotation tank. Now with lockdowns, that's not possible anymore. But I was able to go into a flotation tank and go into that on the heroic dose, and that was super empowering, to be floating in salt water, to be weightless, and to see my death, my funeral, and meet my ancestral realm come back and channel some sounds from my voice. Your voice is really powerful, and a lot of people want to block their voice off. I also work with vocal awakening. Get in touch if it's something you want to be involved in. But your voice is the deepest channel. So, for example, I had a Changa experience, and the first time I did Changa, I kind of came out of it, and I was in it, and it was like, and I already knew how to do the sound before, but this like overtone came in, and being able to channel your own voice without words sometimes with words if you know what you're doing in your experience. But I recommend without voice, allowing yourself to experience a channel of your voice and giving yourself permission for that. And always ask for advice. You know, if there's someone you know that has a lot of experience, you can have them hold space and trip sit with you, which is always useful, especially with things like DMT. I think it's mandatory that you have someone with you unless you're very experienced. And for anything like ayahuasca, these shamanic tools, you never want to do it on your own unless you've had the go-ahead from a shamanic teacher to do it alone. So find a safe space, an experience where you know it will be catered for. Far and few between these days, to be honest. There's a lot of questionable spaces of that, but yeah, just enjoy the journey, and like I'm always here for you. And if you want to, like, you have my email, I believe you have my number as well. So if you wish to like talk about any of these things and prepare, let me know. And as I say, if you'd like a special delivery of some incredible mushrooms that yeah, they're quite fun guys, if you get what I'm saying, let me know, because that can be arranged. And does anybody want to chime in and add on that? I guess
only one thing, you'll recognize it and realize it when it happens. But one thing I can highly recommend, that after your journey, before you journey, freeze grapes. All right?
Ooh.
Just before, just as you're like coming out towards the end of your journey, get them out of the freezer. You will lose your shit and you will thank me for it. I'm just going to park that there. Frozen grapes. Frozen grapes. And also on the subject of mushrooms, if you want to dive deeper into the nature of how mushrooms have been used, the sacred nature of mushrooms, highly recommend this book. It's called The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross. It breaks down back to the original written language of Aramaic, how organized religion was formed part and parcel for it, and the journey through all different beliefs traced back through language and the original roots of where mushrooms came into the existence. So it's a dense read. Like, I'll be real, it's a dense read. But Sacred Mushroom and the Cross, John M. Allegro, I believe. John M. Allegro. Like, powerful book, written in 1956, and it bangs still. So, yeah.
Amazing. And yeah, I've also, like, it's incredible what you're speaking about, because there's been lots of cults, like even Santa Claus, that come out of different mushrooms. Like last year, I got to meet the Amanita muscaria for the first time, and I hadn't met that mushroom before, and it's very different, very very wise. And that's the teacher that, you know, reindeers that fly is a metaphor for reindeer piss, which a lot of these Slavic types and people in cold climates, they would drink that after they'd had the Amanita, and they would have the direct teachings because it has muscanol, different things from psilocybin. We can go into more and more. I think this won't be the last one that we do of these psychedelic talks. I could do the same program every month, to be honest. But I'm aware we've got some other questions, so let's go into those. So we had one. Yes, Lindsay Keys Ellis is tuned in on Facebook. We are vibrations, and psychedelics really help you tune into these frequencies. Do you feel that certain words and tones really affect your trip? In the past, I've been immensely sensitive to this, and it can completely affect the trip in an often negative way. Absolutely agree with you. It is vital to know what words and tones can affect you. For some people, it's mantras. A lot of the Vedic philosophies, there's documentation that they were using psychedelic mushrooms in the sort of springtime of their philosophies, and that these were a lot of the teachers. So a lot of those can have powers. For me, myself, I'm always say the voice can be an incredible teacher. So you don't have to be able to overtone and do mad channels. One thing that I recently found on my own journey was going through the lowest tone I could do to the highest tone I could do, finding breaks in my voice because my voice wasn't being looked at the time, and sitting with those breaks. And the mushroom would then show me, this comes back to this particular moment where your voice had this experience. And that. So like moving with your voice, toning is very powerful. I also work very deeply with Kemetic and Nile Valley Netaru, so the divine archetypes of what people call Egypt, or which I like to call Kemet, what they call themselves. So knowing the words of power, Amen Ra Kepera, Nuno Chutef Not Geb Osor Oset, knowing what these particular archetypes are and calling them into the vibration of what you're doing can be very powerful. I would recommend that you never take mushrooms as a party experience unless you're very experienced and you know that you're taking a small amount, you know what you're doing, because you can't control the environment. Someone could just say something like really messed up, like in a joke, or just be like, "Oh, what's wrong with you? Your face looks weird," and it could just put you in a really strange space. So try and control as many elements as you can. I'm going to let Blaze answer that because, there's so many answers to this and I don't want to dominate. So, yeah, bro, do you have anything to add into that question?
Simply, also the witnessing of the words. So if you're even in a sacred space and a certain word triggers you, it's the invitation for you to watch the word. Why not necessarily deepening into why the word makes me feel that way, but feeling the way that the word feels and sounding it out often as well, because A-E-I-O-U, all the vowels, and that when they're actually done, they're power vowels, they have a resonance for a reason. So there may be a disruption where things are not quite sitting right for you within that particular space. And sometimes what we can also perceive as negative is also bringing you up something for you to face, to shed light on that shadow, and that's where the integration comes. So if someone has said a word that triggers you, why does that word trigger you? The same way there is a pause, there's that point between stimulus and response, that micro few seconds, there is that infinite space for exploration. So it may not be easy in the time, but the invitation for anyone listening or exploring within that capacity is to be a witness the process that is going on, as opposed to you being in the process. This may not make sense completely now, but when you arrive in that space, it's already been imprinted in your subconscious. So may that serve as a tool for you to be able to utilize in accordance.
Right on, bro. This is why I'm excited. So Blaze and I are working on music, but also I'm sure we're going to do a whole load of things. It's not often that I find people who look like me in these circles, so we're really resonating with that. And when I hear you speak at times, it's like listening to another version of myself. I mean, that's life in general. You're always talking to yourself, all mirrors, but I really feel there's such a resonance there. So thank you, brother, for being here with me. And we have
100.
Thelma Oregon. I'm not sure if she's still on the Instagram because this was a while ago, but we're still going to respond to it. I booked to have DMT done last year, but I chickened out. My biggest fear is not having control and the thought of having a terrible trip and being worried I wouldn't come back. Do you want to respond to this first? Because I've been responding to everything first, and I don't want to take all the material,
Trust and surrender. When you're ready, you're ready. And when you're not ready, you're not ready. There's no shame in that. And it's that simple. When a medicine is calling you, it is quote unquote normal to feel that you are losing sort of control, because that's an ego space. But in terms of a medicine and what you would get out of a plant medicine journey, you will know when you're ready. If your spirit was not aligned in that moment in time, trust it. And that's the part of the medicine in itself, knowing the trust. Because if you're not ready and you force something, or you force it, you end up having an experience that you may not be able to be held in the right capacity, then that could probably do more harm than good. That's why it's always great to be able to have a conversation with the space holder, if you're doing it with a space holder, to make sure that you're on the same page. Even for things like that is to have space afterwards and to have a support network for follow-up, because if you're left out into the wilderness with no tools, you're still going to need food, water and shelter, and if you haven't got capacity for that, then it can either make you or it can break you, but ultimately, just make sure that you are living in alignment or in authenticity with you, and there is no shame when spirit says no. For all you know, within that capacity, it could have been the wrong time, the wrong things that you had to prepare for afterwards. Then the flip side of that also is the whole point in going into that space is to surrender. So if you are controlled all the time, wanting to control variables, like we live in broadly speaking, three-dimensional space, where we don't know what's going to happen in the next half an hour, 30 seconds. We have an idea, but these are variables that we plan for. But for all I know, in the next 3 minutes, someone could knock on my door. I haven't planned for it. These are variables, the way that the evening will run. But for what I know, if that conversation happened, it could have been something that needed to happen. So there is an element of ultimately trust, surrender, and support. And there's a difference between like knowledge and knowing. Get knowledge about the particular subject matter, but know when it is your time to be able to go on that healing journey. And if it's not your time, you may get that through breath work or going for a walk. You don't have to necessarily have a psychedelic experience. You could be washing up the plates, or you could be like just seeing the way that a tree leaves fall in autumn, and you could have a profoundly spiritual experience. These are all routes and directions. It's like a sat nav for, like, we're all trying to get to one direction back to source, but we've got multiple routes. We can go ways this way, we can go there. There are roadblocks. Like trust, surrender, and it's a journey. So yeah, that's me. Anything more, bro?
Completely resonate with that. All of what you said, and you know, all the roads are the same road. There's just the path out of darkness into light. So I also want to like congratulate you for like don't use the words such as chickening out. You know, if you're terrified of having a terrible trip and worried that you wouldn't come back, you have to do some work before you enter that space to surrender to that. In the essence of myself, yes, thank you, Daniela, for joining. Catch you another time. But yeah, in order to surrender not only to the process, but to surrender to your intuition, letting you know that this isn't a right thing for you, because a lot of people have that intuition, go into certain ceremonies with certain space holders and have horrific experiences because your intuition knows. You never have to rush a psychedelic experience. You never have to do it. And in fact, you should never, and I don't use the word should very often, you should never do a psychedelic experience if the predominant thought is one of fear and doubt. Also, one of the powers, I think, one of the most empowering things about having a psychedelic experience, in my humble opinion, is the ability to we say surrender. It's a word that's often overused, but it's really an acceptance of not being in control, because that's the reality. And it's a paradox because we're infinitely in control anyway, and we're never in control. But if we identify as the Most High Divine Light at all times, then we can think about being in control, or we can actually manifest some form of control. But an individual human, there are variables in life that you can have control over, but you never control life. The creator controls the flow of life. So essentially, I've heard this is a common thing. I'm scared of losing control, not coming back. First of all, there were some times where I was sitting there going, I hope I don't come back. I want to stay here. Let me stay here. This is home. I don't want to go back there. And I've never been allowed to. I've never been allowed to stay. That's when I wanted to stay. I see Blaze laughing because that is the real, you know. You need to go back home. No, but I am home. No, you're home. This is our home. You can't stay here. I'm like, what the hell? Like, anyway, what the heaven? So yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's getting close to 9:20 where I'm at. I know it's 8:20 in England. I might skip dinner tonight. Actually, have a little fast, and a little meal. So the final question that I see from Africa's Son, who's on Instagram, praying that you're still tuned in. Also, just to say, Thelma Oregon is still tuned in, so it's good that we got to answer a question. If you are still here, Africa's Son, do you experience any God? Great question. Again, I'm going to pass over to Blaze first, because I know you've got a well of experience and knowledge, and I don't have to default to answering every time.
So now it will depend on Africa's Son's definition of God. God could be broken down as gaining one's discipline. It could be based on a particular deity that it resonates with you. It could be based on higher self. So that is all on the lens of their perception of God. In terms of with psychedelics, there is an experience of divinity, would probably be the best way to describe it. There's an experience of connection, and there is an experience of expansion beyond logical mind and boundless wisdom. What psychedelics can bring is a sense of oneness, or seeing the divine in all things, allowing messages to come through, and messages that come through from a place of willingness to either accept, believe, or choose to act upon. Because we get messages thousands of times a day. We're bombarded with messages, but then we also have to realize that we ultimately choose the messages that resonate with us. So that from that perspective, do you experience any God? Multiple experiences of ancestors and things that can be, even if we look at it on a purely energetic level, frequency, how, Marv, you can range from low to high and everything in between in terms of frequency of voice, the same way that lights are in different frequencies. Almost one thing that I would pose back in terms of in that space, or gods, deities, demons, if you will, are just different ranges of frequencies. And where we either expose our channel or open our channel to let divinity come through, because even when creativity occurs, like I say that I don't necessarily create things, creativity comes through me. I create the space for creativity. And in that capacity, it's the same with gods or like demons, heavy energies, and all the demons that we have. They're parts that want to be acknowledged and loved. So when you're open in a space that's held, and divinity or God consciousness can come through, that those things can come through, and you can choose to use them, or you can let them go, because ultimately they were there, and there's a sense of not having to grasp. It's like holding a butterfly. You can, if you hold it too hard, you'll crush it. If you don't hold it at all, it'll fly away. But if you hold it just right, you can observe it, see it, and then you can let it go when it's time. And all of those bits and pieces will come back in necessary. And then where you will probably find the biggest experience of God is in nature. You want to see God's work, or you want to see divinity in work, go outside. Even if it's in a concrete jungle, you can see a flipping weed growing through concrete and bricks and cracks and all sorts. That's divine. Like dandelions, we look at them as weeds. They're here to, like, there's so many health benefits to dandelions, dandelion tea, dandelion honey, and all sorts. That's divinity, man-made, and nature coming to a point. So do psychedelics help you to experience your lens and perception of God? It can. But if you want to see God consciousness and be open to divinity, go outside, be in nature, see this the sun beaming through trees, which in Japanese is a kamobi, if I'm saying it correctly, because there's no actual word for that experience in the English language. But when you see that, you will see such a presence of and then God, or this God consciousness, comes into you. You are unable to be in a timeless space, because the same way, if you were to do like a plank for a minute, it would be like you would go through a process of, oh, how long is the time? Am I done yet? But you can, if you sit there and you literally watch the way leaves fall into rivers or sunbeams across water, and you're seeing that for a minute, that is a timeless experience. So there are all avenues to experience God. You can also experience that in a church, a mosque, wherever your spiritual home and practices, you can find that in a place. But the biggest spiritual temple, you're walking in it, you're moving in it, you're breathing in it. So that's the best place for you to experience any God, is through you, as opposed to thy kingdom come, know thyself. Do you know what I mean? It all emanates from the inner space out and is met in the world. So that may answer your question. It may provide you with more questions. But yeah, thank you.
Africa's Son said in response to you, agree. And Saya De La Haye is, I have a similar view. We choose the energy, good or bad. Yep, agree, 100, 100, 100. So yeah, you're resonating with the people then, bro, as I expect.
So,
I'm also going to take this as my last opportunity. I was intending to keep this for an hour, but it's not ever going to be an hour, is it? Timeless. And I'm going to put the intention out there for Blaze and I to start a podcast, actually, and do this with studio quality mics so that we can continue these kind of discussions. It went on a bit longer than I expected, but expectations are for disappointment's sake. Anyway, so I want to touch on the acronym you used, which is gaining one's discipline. I also love Common's definition, gaining one's definition, and one that came to me in a moment is generate or destroy. So all of these aspects of what we call God or the divine, for me, I always come back to the word creator. And if I identify fully and humbly as the creator in the moment, I can do God's work. If I am my ego projection of who I think I am in a moment, it will always come in the way. And like for being someone who's held space for many people in psychedelic ceremonies, it's only when I let myself get out of the way that the divine work happens through me. So I've met these dimensional elves, so to speak, which are aspects of the divine. And anytime I've met the highest level of creator and divine, it's saying, you are an aspect of me, you are part of me, you are, I think actually that's very similar to what Brother Brandon said, like that thing saying that we are a part of it. And just a little brief bit of storytelling, in the beginning was the black womb of potential. And the black womb potential knew no experience, for it sat within singularity and non-duality. So it couldn't experience a chair because it would be the chair and fall through the chair. Through that realization of the fullest potential, it created its opposite, which is separation. And through separation, this divine being was able to experience itself in a way that it was able to mirror. And the whole, the womb, the whole container started to crack in on itself, similar to how we see in the embryonic generation, in gestation of life, from the single cell, it splits and becomes the vesica Pisces and becomes more and more complex forms. This is, for me, the journey of the divine, the journey of God. So in essence, we are coming home to the divinity, and sometimes psychedelics can offer us a little, almost like I always say that the psychedelics are like you get in a car and get a lift to, let's say if you're in London, a lift to Bristol, and you have to walk back if you ever really want to get the lesson of what that journey was. If you get back in the car again, you're never really going to understand it, and you have to do the heavy work afterwards. But the divine speaks to me. Also spoken to, disembodied ancestors, beings that I've known who passed on, and connecting to that oneness and those frequencies. Let's never fear the aspect of the divine that we are, the divine masculine, the divine feminine, the balance between. And for me, that is the God. Not a man with a beard judging you, but as much as some people would say it's Baphomet or the devil, I feel the creator is truly hermaphroditic and embodies the true nature of the divine masculine and feminine at all times, impregnates itself. The story of Amun creating the twins Shu and Tefnut by swallowing his own seed. And this is a Neteru, a Kemetic creation myth. Through swallowing his own seed, he created Shu and Tefnut, the divine twins who represent feminine and masculine, or dry and moist air. And then through them creating that space, the heaven and the earth itself, Nut, the sky goddess, and Geb, the god of earth, were separated from each other. And Geb is always depicted as having an erection, reaching towards the sky. And this is the longing of that separation. By having that separation, the earth and the heavens were created. And everything that you know is experienced were created. And that is the divine aspect of, as I say, generate or destroy, to be the oneness or to split. And how beautiful that we chose to come out of such a blissful, non-challenging restful experience so that we can have all of this, so we can go. And you manifested yourself in this particular time, in coronavirus pandemic, all of these things going on, so that you can shine your light and find new ways of connecting through the quantum. We're entering the quantum field. You're already in the room with me right now. I'm in the room with you right now. At the center of our heart, the space meets. So, in essence, I won't do a Kanye and say, who does this guy think he is? He keeps saying he's a god. I just said who I thought I was. A god. No, I am not God. I am an aspect of the divine discovering itself through the endless potential of a hallway of mirrors that allows us to see a reflection and become something other than everything. Every nothing, so to speak. So I'm just going to read the last little comment and we're going to sign out. This has been such a beautiful experience. Please do go to marvradio.com/events and find out more about my free February offerings. This Friday, I'm doing a live stream of a live show with music, and we're excited to share that with you. On Wednesday, we have a Men of Color King Circle, sharing circle that we need for melanated kings to come together and shine and resonate. So if you know a brother of color who needs to connect with other brothers of color, let them know. And this Saturday, African yoga. This Sunday, the elevator again, which we did yesterday. Every week in free February, sharing divine sound baths with people and guided meditations. So the last little thing that, by the way, you can watch this back on YouTube. You can watch this back. I'm going to post this on IGTV. You can watch this back, and if you are watching this back, I can continue to respond in the comments to any questions you have. I also refer Blaze to there because he's such a well of knowledge. It's great for him to be able to communicate as well. Show some love if you'd like to see this podcast where we can bring through the vibration of the healing shamanic essence of hip-hop, and hip-hop being an intelligent movement and the mastery of alchemizing things that exist and turning into a new force. The last thing I want to see is Sticky Dub, my bro. I miss you, man. We got to chat. Refer to my deity as the creator, because that's all we know about that aspect, that someone or something created this space for us organisms to thrive and evolve. Love that. So final thoughts. I'll go ahead with mine. My final thoughts on psychedelia is you're never going to fit thousands of years of experience, and you can have that in one psychedelic experience in a 90-minute call that was meant to be a 60-minute call. So there's much more that we can divulge in this topic and go into. Final thoughts: if you're thinking of embarking on some psychedelic journeys, please do consider me as someone who's open with no profit involved to talk you through. info@marvradio.com. DM me, message me if you want to have my phone number, chat, WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram. If you'd like to receive some chocolate teachers that might be able to, introduce you to some fun guys, do let me know, and that can be delivered to you. And non-incriminating way, yeah. But anyway, the final thought I'll say is psychedelia is everything. Another DMT experience I had was waking up in the experience of an alien taking a bong hit and going, "Whoa, humans are trippy." So for all we know, this is a big trip. We come in with DMT, we leave with DMT. I give thanks to all the plant teachers, ayahuasca, San Pedro, iboga, wilca, yopo, DMT, changa, sacred mushrooms, cacao, Santa Maria, marijuana, ganja, the toad, 5-MeO DMT. All of these great teachers that have been present with us today, and hopefully you felt a little bit of that light sparking through our discussion. This will continue. DM me if you want to sign up to my mailing list so we can keep raising the vibration. And last thing I'd like to say is I have an album coming out on the 26th of March called Mantra, which is all about my experience of coming from a depressive, suicidal teenager. I tried to take my life when I was 15 and nearly succeeded. To being who you see in front of you through near-death experience, through shamanic journeys in the rainforest, through falling off a mountain and fracturing my spine, all kinds of things. That journey's coming out, and I would love for you to take part in it. So please message me your email address, sign up to the mailing list, get involved, and Blaze, I'd like you to have your final offerings and also use it as a small space to promote what you're doing in this time and to let people know how they can find you and what you can offer for them and how to reach out. And before I go, I actually want to thank everyone who came on the stream just to watch. Brandon for sharing on screen, Penny for sharing on screen, Daniela who's left, and everyone who's left, Amethyst for being there and being a silent, present patient face taking it all in. We really appreciate you. If you're not there, it's just a madman speaking to himself, but maybe that's what it is anyway.
Love that. So yeah, Boom Bam, you can find me at IAM13E on Instagram, Facebook as well. Feel free to holler at me. Also email wise, IAM13emusic@gmail.com. By trade, music is my first love and will always be my first love. So music, beats, I do body work called structural integration, Reiki master, do distance sessions and healings as well. And also ultimately, just get in contact with me if you want to do cool shit with cool people. I like bridging the gap. It's not about me. It's not about like either one of me or Marv. It's about us. And I say us, so I look at that as a community. So let's just, in fact, now bun a community, a tribe creating its own culture so we can thrive. So yeah, and if you are open to all things well-being, go to @AIM, AIM, the number 2 BE for all sorts of yoga nidra, and men's chats, everything in between. But yeah, I just would like to take a moment to thank my brother Marv for being a catalyst to this conversation. I look forward to how our conversations evolve. Everyone watching live on the replay, and also I have an invitation for you all, just to share this with one person that you may feel may resonate. Just one person that you can think of. Even as I said that, you probably like, yeah, Jack would like that, or like Fred would like that, or Mary would like that. Yeah, just share it and see if they find resonance.
Or Kwame.
Or Kwame. Yeah. All of them, all of the friends. So
yes, I agree with that.
But apart from that, yeah, keep locked into Marv's events. I'm sure you'll see me popping up from place to place from time to time. And yeah, much love to you all. Yeah, I'm out.
Thanks for being involved in this divine stream of consciousness. If you would like to know more about sound healing, if you'd like to activate your voice, if you'd like to know more about psychedelics, just reach out. Blaze and I are offering many things, and there's even more things going to happen together. And when these borders are open and flights are happening, you best know there's going to be the most incredible divine creative retreats going over here in Ibiza and around the world. But until then, we're going to do some online stuff. Blaze is still in the UK if you're watching this from the UK, so there's a lot of people I can introduce you to that are doing incredible work with healing in the physical realm where you're at. Right, so 100 minutes of pure, well, actually, I started 5 minutes early, so 105 minutes of pure streaming of the divine psychedelic consciousness. Please join me on Radio Talks next Monday. Go to marvradio.com/events and sign up for Radio Talks next week. We're doing sacred sexuality, which again, you're all invited to step in and join. It's something that I've been practicing and at times not practicing. So it's the awareness and the sharing is here, and you are your own solution. You are everything that you've been looking for. And just to end with a little chorus from one of my forthcoming songs from my album Mantra. Everything you've been looking for, you found it. Everything you've been looking for, you found it. Everything you've been looking for, you found it. 'Cause everything you've been looking for, you are it. You are it. You are it. Peace, love, Hotep, Amen, Ra. Ankh Uja Seneb. Keep rising, kings and queens. Keep rising, divine beings. And like Blaze said, share this with someone who resonates, who needs to hear this, who needs to find out more. Keep supporting the movement. We grow together. We flow together. One love. We're ending the stream now. Peace, love, wholeness, Hotep, unity, one.